Are the Indiana Fever considering shutting down Caitlin Clark for the year? Their press release today makes it seem like it's a possibility. Let's get into it. And what is going on, everybody? It is Andrew Hobner with No Cap Space WBB here. Hoping you're having a great Thursday as we wrap up the week here in WNBA world, and some major news from the Indiana Fever dropping just a couple hours ago. This is their tweet that we got for you here. And I quote, Caitlin Clark underwent further medical evaluations earlier this week, which confirmed that no additional injuries or damage were discovered. Clark will continue working with the medical team on her recovery and rehabilitation with the priority on her long-term health and well-being. There is no timetable available for her return. So for those of you that are just jumping into everything happening in the world of women's basketball, Caitlin Clark has been dealing with a nagging groin injury, a groin strain. It started against the Seattle Storm in June. She had really looked 100% as a player up until that point, caused her to miss a handful of games, came back, didn't look fully 100%. The shooting percentages indicated that it just wasn't 100% of Caitlin Clark. And then she re-aggravates the injury toward the end of their game against the Connecticut Sun on July 16th. That causes her to miss All-Star last week, and now she is still out of the lineup. And as you just saw, no timetable for her return as per the Indiana Fever. But I want to dive into the statement itself because it is a very interesting discussion now about whether or not the franchise decides that they should shut her down for the year and preserve her health in the long term. And also what we can kind of glean from a statement like this. We're going to put journalism cap on and reach back into my 10 years of being in the business. I still am, but go back through 10 years and looking at press releases and kind of dive through what we can. So let's reopen this. And actually, we'll do you one better. Let's just open up the full statement. It's nothing different than the tweet, but I think it's just going to be better to give you a full screen of the text and it'll be a little less busy. So, following a July 15th injury to her right groin, Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark underwent further medical evaluations this week. That is something that Steph White talked about, her head coach. They were in New York playing the Fever. She went to go see some specialists in New York, Caitlin Clark did, to get a second opinion on what has been happening with this groin strain. The team can confirm that no additional injuries or damage were discovered through the evaluations. This is a really interesting phrasing of this here because the way, and I don't want to make this feel like it's conspiracy brain because this is what PR people do, and this is what we as journalists are kind of trained to litigate is the wording of these statements because it is very particular. It has to go through multiple people before it goes out, especially with a star of this caliber in Caitlin Clark. The team confirming that no additional injuries or damage were discovered through the evaluations is a good thing on its face because effectively what it tells you is the obvious is not true. The worst is not true, that this is a higher grade strain or something that immediately takes her off the table completely from any type of game. So that is good news on the one hand. But on the other hand, the fact that there's no additional injury or damage still doesn't tell us the severity of the initial strain. For all we know, the strain could have been significant at the outset and she tried to play through it. And now what we're doing is looking back to figure out what the recovery and rehab process looks like. The fact that it's not worse and that the re-aggravation didn't get worse is a positive. But I am curious, given how we saw her play when she was coming back from the first aggravation of the injury, how much this was about her trying to gut through it and be just a true competitor. The next portion. Clark will continue working with the Fever medical team on her recovery and rehabilitation with the priority on her long-term health and well-being. Another interesting choice of words here by the Fever's PR people because you didn't have to put long-term health and well-being in there, but what that tells me is that you've heard the chatter. You've heard the discussion about this could be something that is an issue for her in the long term. And you don't want anyone to believe that there is a concerted effort to rush her back, that this isn't a business decision, that this isn't the golden goose has to go out there or the ratings drop or the attendance drops or the money drops, because realistically speaking, all of those things will happen when Caitlin is not playing. Like the historic ratings that she brought last season, those come down. Now, relative to what they were the year before, they're still up. It's just a more incremental growth instead of a stratospheric growth that Caitlin helped bring, especially to Fever Games, to Gamebridge, to their local television ratings. And so when you go back and look at this statement, it very clearly is saying, this is not a business. Like, we care about her as a person, which is a really good thing if you're a Fever fan, because an organization doesn't have to put that in there. They can be a little less scrupulous about this type of thing if they want to, but they understand the sensitivity and severity of the issue in terms of this being the WNBA's biggest star right now. There's no timetable available for Clark's return. That very much tells me stop asking. Like the Nick Saban, I ain't going to answer it, so quit asking. That kind of feels like it, because it adds with, and no additional details will be provided at this time. So that's telling all of the press, people like me, stop asking. Stop emailing, stop putting it in the press conferences, stop asking Steph White. Like, we don't have any information. We are going to get it to you when you can get it, or when we have an update, which is any further updates will be shared as they come available. So the way I'm looking at this is, it's not a catastrophic injury, thank God. It's not an additional injury, also thank God. But it is a bad enough injury that I think all of the fears are confirmed about the fact that she was trying to gut that out before she re-aggravated it. Because if it's just kind of like a simple aggravation, a week off, like, that should be able to get you back into the mix of things. But if you're needing a second doctor's opinion, if there is no timetable for your return, and if the team is making it a point to say in their statement, the long game here matters with her, I mean, I think, to me, that says it was a bad, not terrible injury. She is a competitor and tried to gut through it, because that's what competitors of her caliber do. She re-aggravated it, and now there has to be a broader discussion about what happens here. You know, what do we do with you? What do we decide to do with you? Because we do not want to let you get hurt to the point where it becomes a problem. I will open something up here that was on our Substack. It is a paywalled article as part of the Ball Knowers tier. Consider joining if you like our content. We have so much written stuff and react to breaking news kind of quicker over there, and watch guides and history stories and all this other stuff. But I want to add the injury context here, just because I think it's important to have it for the YouTube crowd. And then if you want to look at the case for and the case against shutting her down for the year, you can check that out on the site. There's a free trial you can do that should get you this article for free for this one alone. But in the injury context, I went back and I found a National Institute of Health story that was a research paper that was written by 4 doctors, some with the Nicholas Institute of Sports Medicine and Athletic Trauma, that's at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, as well as the Santa Monica Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Group. Stephen Nicholas, the guy who is, one of the 4 authors of this, he's like that dude when it comes to sports medicine. He is one of the foremost authorities on sports medicine. He was the team physician for the Jets and the Islanders. I think there was another, Hofstra Athletics, he was as well. And right now he runs the sports medicine department at Lenox Hill in New York. So like he's that dude. Now, not just because he's a Scarsdale guy as well. Shout out to the Nicholas family. But a pair of excerpts I want to read you here. This is from the context section of the research paper, the abstract, that you kind of get at the beginning. An adductor strain that is treated improperly can become chronic and career-threatening. Any one of the 6 muscles of the adductor muscle group can be involved. The degree of injury can range from a minor strain where minimal playing time is lost to a severe strain in which there is complete loss of muscle function. Persistent groin pain and muscle imbalance may lead to athletic pubalgia, a sports hernia. And then it says these injuries have been linked to hip muscle weakness, a previous injury to that area, preseason practice sessions, and levels of experience. This injury may be prevented if these risk factors are addressed before each season. Now, I am not going to sit up here and pretend that I am a doctor and diagnose her with an injury. All I know is that she has a groin injury, and this is what the doctors are saying. What I am bringing that up to tell you is that I'm trying to put you guys in the organizational mindset of what the Fever are thinking from a GM, president, head coach standpoint here. It's not about the medicals anymore because this is a person whose star is so big that you can't look at it as just a solely medical thing. There are all of these other things to consider here. And one of the things to consider is a shutdown doesn't kill you in a lot of ways because the Fever were competitive when both teams were 100% fully healthy. They've only met once when both sides have been fully healthy this year. It was in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, third or fourth game of the season. Indiana almost knocked off the Liberty in that game. There was that controversial non-call on Natasha Cloud guarding Caitlin on the final possession. And that indicated, okay, maybe they are a finals contender here. But they're only a finals contender with 100% of Caitlin Clark. They are not a finals contender with 60% of Caitlin Clark or 70 or 80% of Caitlin Clark. You need 100% of Caitlin Clark if you are going to get out of the East and beat that team. So if you're the Fever brass, that's the calculus you need to think about this in is, can you get 100% of her? And if so, that makes you a real title contender. If you don't have 100% of her, it's not. And at that point, is it worth it to potentially incur a longer injury or re-aggravate it if you know you are not going to make a full run if she's not 100%? Because if you get out of the East, you still have to see the Lynx, who I think the Fever match up a bit better than. We'll know a little bit more later in the year. They play 3 times between August and September, but Indiana did beat Minnesota in the Commissioner's Cup final without Caitlin, I might add. But you have to get through the Liberty to even get to that point. My thing that concerns me with this is the way their roster is constructed. You don't really need to do this. You have Lexi Hull, Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, all under rookie contracts. The biggest stars that are going to be on the market is Kelsey Mitchell and Natasha Howard, but you have your core. You have your core. The cap is going to spike, and there's going to be a whole free agency bonanza that comes in this offseason. So ultimately, do you really need to waste this year if it means the future is on the way? And I don't think it has to be anything deeper than, I want to watch Caitlin Clark play for a long time. I don't care about any of the other stuff, whether it's, she should sit to teach them a lesson, to teach the league and its owners and the players, you can't survive. No, it's not about that. Selfishly, I want to watch this kid play basketball for 10 years. I want to see her hitting logo threes and winning championships and doing all of these things because I believe in the greatness of that player. The same way I believe in the greatness of a player like Juju, right? And when Juju goes down, in the NCAA tournament with an ACL injury, we are being robbed of being able to see greatness from great athletes with great mindsets who tell us great stories through their play. And I don't want to see that ruined with Caitlin Clark early. I don't know what they should do. I'm not getting paid for that kind of stuff, but there is a really interesting discussion here about how much of Caitlin Clark is enough to get you into the finals contender stage. And if you can get that, is it worth it to try and make a title run this year if you have a version of Caitlin Clark that can give it to you? Really interested to hear what everyone has to say in the comments. So comment underneath, like, share, subscribe. A big thank you to all. We passed 4,000 subscribers over the weekend at All-Star, and you guys are just fantastic. It's a great community that we're building here. It's here. It's on Substack. It's on TikTok. It's on Instagram. It's wherever you get it. But here and Substack are the two big ones. And just thank you. Thank you all very much for subscribing. Continue to share the page because we want to keep the talk on ball here and continue to celebrate women's basketball. For all of those that have been with it for a long time or those that are just joining in, you're all welcome at our community table. So thank you for getting us there. And hey, Road to 5K is on. So share and subscribe if you can and if you like the stuff. That's all we got. We will have more content coming up around the bend. Got some watch guides coming out on Fridays now. We're going to start pushing out some new content just to see what you guys think of it. And until then, we'll see you later.